When I predicted last year that Donald Trump would win the 2024 election, the circumstances were a little different. Here's the thing. He was still running against Joe Biden, and things were looking more dire than ever back then. As we know, Joe Biden is like a skinwalker. He's like decaying in like a flesh suit. And even back then, I was like, there's no way. I could just see it. I was like, there's no way in hell that even in like a debate, even in any chance that Joe Biden has to like prove himself, he's not going to be able to. This man is fucking 800 billion years old. Then comes along Kamala Harris when Biden inevitably dropped out. And I was looking back at all the random predictions I made for 2024, and I was like, okay, well, that one's fucking cooked because there's no way that Trump will still win. Because I thought it would be close if Biden and Trump were fighting. But so what happened last night during the election? I'll break it down for you because as someone that popped an edible and then locked the fuck into like 4 different screens playing election coverage, I can kind of summarize what happened. If you like, if all of that is like baffling to you, like the electoral college, as it should be, or as it shouldn't be, but as it is, because it's the most confusing fucking thing ever, and I don't really understand the purpose of it. But basically, to give some context, in the past 2 elections that Trump has ran in, 2016 and 2020, Trump lost a popular vote. So if you tallied every single vote in the country, regardless of what state you're from, Trump got less votes, but still in 2016 won. 2020 he fucking lost. But there's this thing called the electoral college. So basically, certain states will have a certain amount of electoral college votes, and you have to get 270 as a presidential candidate to win. So, for example, like I think Texas is like 20 electoral college votes. And most of them, here's the thing, most of these states, people knew how it was going to shake up. So obviously like New York, California, those are blue states. They are going to be blue, and all of those electoral college votes will go to Kamala Harris. And then there's some that were like pretty much guaranteed to be red. So like Texas, fucking Alabama, like they were going to be red. It was no, but then there was like, I think 6 that were considered battleground states. And this means that it's like very even. It could go to either one. And surprisingly, you look at Florida, and Florida used to be like pretty contested and had a lot more blue. That's a fucking red state now. Like it is red. But specifically, I promise we won't get too much into the specifics and of the fucking political nerdiness because we have bigger shit to fry. But like, Pennsylvania was the one state that would pretty much decide the election, which is very weird. But it's like with how all the other states were expected to shake up and did, Pennsylvania was like the one that pretty much if you win that, you win the election. And when I was watching it last night, as the votes first came in, it was like 80% for Kamala, 12% for Trump. That is not math. That would be 102 fucking percent. Ah! That would be 102%. But it was heavily favoring Kamala. And this is because they count the mail-in ballots first, which tend to be very Democrat-leaning, very left-leaning. So as the night went on, Kamala's lead just went smaller and smaller and smaller, and Trump's just came up and up and up. And I believe it ended with Trump winning that by like 52% and Kamala Harris winning by 48%, giving him all the electoral college votes he needed. And now Trump has been elected for a second term in the United States of America. So, where to go? What to talk about from here? I guess I'll talk about my personal experience because everything's about me, which So my experience as being like an immigrant in this country is you kind of you kind of just like accept that nothing's like in your control, and you're kind of at the whim of whatever the government's feeling, and not just like policy wise. I mean, even like whenever I like leave, like go back to Canada or like travel or stuff and come back to the US. Right now, like the border guards are always like very nice, and like they don't ask, like I have my case, I have my visa, like there's nothing to like stipulate. I'm not a criminal, despite my last video being trying illegal substances. Which watch it, it's more of a fucking drug PSA than I'm not trying to glorify drugs. I'm trying to tell you not to do them. That's why I made the fucking video. But I think back to when Trump was president, when I used to come to the U.S. before Biden won. And it was very different, okay? So I would get questioned a lot more. Sometimes they would take me to this like secondary screening area, and they would go through my phone, to which they would eventually say, okay, you're good. Yeah, you're not like a fucking terrorist. And then they would like send me on my way. But just that, it's hard to describe and hard to pinpoint exact things, but there's a very striking difference between when Trump was president and when like not Trump was president, just in terms of how the government like treats you as an immigrant. Now, Trump, as you probably have heard, is planning on doing mass deportations, and I've fucking yapped about this before. I feel like I've fucking talked in a circle 8 billion times about like what it's like to move here. And I feel stupid because like I came here from like a extremely privileged position in a privileged country to here. It's not like I'm like 95% of like immigrant stories where it's like escaping like a fucking war zone or something to the United States. So like I feel stupid even bringing it up, but like I just want, like that's the closest thing that I can like share of how immediately fucked things are in my like immediate orbit. And there's much bigger fish to fry and much bigger horrible things that could potentially happen and probably will happen to fucking everyone. But I worry because he's like, we're gonna deport all of the illegal immigrants, and then he added this fun little thing where he was like, and then we're gonna move on to the legal ones too. And I'm like, oh. So if there's anyone else who's living in the United States and not a citizen or something like me, just give yourself as much peace as you can and give yourself as much control of your own story as you can. Like, listen, I don't think Trump says a lot of big things and they end up being a lot smaller than they actually are. That motherfucker said he was going to build a wall. Why'd that shit look like 4 meters long? Like it was not it. So I'm praying. I'd say expect the worst, hope for the best for like anything that he's claiming to do. But I also want to bring up, kind of more importantly, the trickle-down effect on every other country that this will have, and the whole world for that matter. I know it's easy to look at American politics and be like, what the fuck is going on over there? Like, it's almost like you're like listening, you're like eavesdropping in on like your neighbors having an argument. And that's how it felt for the past few elections, because it didn't feel that high stakes, but like, or it did feel that high stakes. I mean, in 2016, wow, I'm such an old head that I fucking remember the 2016 election like that. But it's like, no one expected it, so it didn't feel that. It was like, no fucking way he's going to win. And that was kind of the similar vibe last night. It was like, no fucking way he's going to win. No fucking way. What did I wake up to this morning? But I would caution people dismissing or just like in general laughing or taking lightly the American election if you're not from America, because it really truly does have trickle down effects. For example, Trump winning in 2016 followed a very extremely like kind of right wing wave across Europe. There's like Giorgia Meloni in Italy who basically in every country, there's like left-wing parties and right-wing parties. And what has happened is these right-wing parties basically are the biggest fucking fans of Donald Trump. For example, in Alberta, my home province, our premier, Danielle Smith, is like a huge fucking Trumpy and has hosted like the whole gaggle of like Trump's allies, like had Tucker Carlson come to Alberta and like Jordan Peterson and do like a fucking like a speech about like the woke left and all this shit. And they will be like if you live in a country that is leaning right, they will be emulating everything that Trump does. Everything that Trump gives like an inch to in terms of like rolling back environmental protections, rolling back rights on trans people, immigration, they will literally copy, because whether we fucking like it or not, the United States is like running shit in the world. And I don't mean that in like we're running shit. I mean it in like the rest of the world is held hostage by the United States. So I once again just want to say, I mean, listen, the benefit of not being in the US is you have an election coming up at some point, probably. For example, in Canada, it's next October, I think, in 2025. We have a chance to not let the same shit happen to us. So heed that fucking warning, please. Now, what I think specifically happened, there's so many things that I don't know, because I really felt good about Kamala Harris. In fact, 2 nights ago, I took the train down to Pennsylvania to go to her rally, and the fucking line, the crowd, not the line, was a mile long. I literally pulled up and left because I was like, there's no fucking way I'm getting in. I felt like such a strong sense of like energy and hope that she would win. It felt very promising. And I don't think it's I don't think I'm like living out or like hoping to say that. Like, it felt promising. But like with Biden, it felt like the biggest like sense of despair whenever I would think about the election, because I was like, there's no fucking way, and you're all delusional. You're all fucking delusional thinking that Biden's gonna win. Hence why I predicted that Trump would win. But I didn't feel that with Kamala. I thought that she campaigned very well. I will say, as someone who like, I try to just listen to everything. I know very like strongly like where I stand politically, but I try and listen to like everything. Like I listen to the fucking Joe Rogan, Donald Trump podcast just because like I want to get into their minds and see like what they are feeling, because it's so easy to just like blindly be like come Harris, and then like forget that there is like half the country is thinking like a completely different way and like looks at Kamala Harris and like thinks she's like a fucking alien. So like I noticed like subtle differences where she was falling behind. For example, like Trump, goddamn him, is a fucking yapper, and I think is more charismatic to like TV hosts and guests and like crowds than Kamala is. And I don't mean that. I'm not trying to glaze him. Don't take it the wrong fucking way. What I mean is like, you look at Kamala, and yes, she's charismatic and she has like her funny clips and like, you think you fell out of a coconut tree? Well, fuck, we still lost the election. Like, that shit didn't help. Kamala Harris felt very like politician to me. She would go and do these interviews, and you could watch like 2 interviews, and the thing she would say would be like repeated almost verbatim on like the next show. Or she would like get asked something completely unrelated and then like start talking about being like middle class. It just really felt like she had these talking points. And mind you, what the fuck do you do? Because like, you're a politician, you're getting asked so many hard questions about like literally every issue on the whole world. Like I feel like you would have to have talking points. Like, I don't blame her for doing that, but it's like, you look at the alternative, Trump, and he benefits from being able to be so unspoken. He can fucking say anything, and his fans and his supporters wouldn't turn on him. It's the craziest shit. He even had like obviously there was that Madison Square Garden rally where he had like a comedian come on stage and be like, Puerto Rico's a floating dumpster fucking trash island, and that didn't stop the Latino vote for Trump. Latinos voted very much in favor of Trump, especially in places like Florida and stuff. Trump has this kind of plot armor. I don't know what the fuck it is. He's so strong. And it's like, no, like he almost benefits from this phenomenon where the more things against him, or almost like the more evil he becomes, the more strong he becomes. And what I mean by that is this man is a convicted felon, and that only helped him. I was sort of cringing when, like, everyone on the left was like, lock him up, like, prosecute him, because I fucking knew that he would just become like a martyr for the right. People would be, especially when he got shot with that fucking bullet, I was like, oh my God, like he's got it. He's fucking got it. He's going to be the president. Like, he has this martyrdom sense in his eyes, which to you and me and a lot of people on the left is like fucking bewildering, because once you see through his veneer, you know that he's like just a businessman doing this for like the fucking power. Like, he's on a fucking power trip, and not like a good one. Like, oh, I'm gonna become president and I'm gonna change. It's like, I'm gonna become president and I'm going to run on hate, and everyone that I don't like is going to be banished to the fucking seventh circle of hell. So I think that's the main reason why Trump won. Oh God, that sounds so crazy to say why Trump won in like past tense, because it happened. Because, I'm going to need to go to the dispensary after this. And there's some other things too why I think this happened. Specifically, independent voters. I think you all have brain damage. Sorry if that's mean. I know a lot of people have different reasons for voting independent. And I will say this because I have voted for the Green Party in Canada in the past. Mind you, it's a little bit different. In Canada, we don't have a two-party system. It's more like fucking 3, 4 sometimes. And then there's like little outlier parties. And I would never vote for the Green Party again. Because even in Canada, where it's like there's a much larger chance that like a smaller party could win, that shit ain't happening. I think people who voted independent, whatever their reasons, did it very performatively to be like, I didn't vote for Kamala. I voted for Jill Stein. I hope you live with that decision and know that your vote went to Trump, basically. And if you're thinking, no, this is a third option, I'm breaking from the mold. No, I'll leave you with this. Why do you think Trump was actively supporting Jill Stein and independent candidates? Because he knew that those were votes to take away from Kamala. Mind you, Kamala still would have lost. Even if you factored in every single vote that independents got, Kamala still would have lost in battleground states. So I'm like not too peeved about that. But so best case scenario, and what I see for this country and the world, is we take a beating for 4 more years. Trump does whatever he wants with this, but there's a silver lining at the end. Here's me liberal coping again. Is that he will never be president. Well, I was going to say he'll never be president again, but the night is still young, and like, imagine if he just stays in that bitch. Imagine if he just plops down and he's like, not fucking leaving. I also thought that if Trump didn't win, I think the immediate effects if Trump didn't win would have been very violent. I feel like there would have been like a January 6th part 2. I mean, even when Pennsylvania was coming in, he was already like posting shit on Truth Social being like, strange things happening in Pennsylvania. It looks like fucking voter fraud. Stop the count as tweets or truths, whatever the fuck it's called. I feel like the immediate reaction would have been very violent. It would have been very scary. But the long-term effects, I think, are going to be scarier. Long-term effects of Trump winning, obviously. But I do wonder, because so if Kamala won, I think, I truly wonder, like, which scenario would make, like, MAGA people and the right people stronger? Because if I'm to just, like, run a simulation of my brain, Trump has won now. They're going to get what they want, and they're going to be happy and content. They're going to be doing, like, all these fucked up things. They're going to be deporting millions of people. But they're not going to be getting, like, more angrier and riled up. They're going to be, like, I fucking pray that they get it out of their system, and then the rest of the world is, like, shocked and horrified enough next election to vote blue. That's what I pray. Because when I think about 2020's election, we had just come off of we were coming off of a Trump presidency. There was a pandemic, which was so, like, miraculously fumbled. All the other things that Trump did, it was so fresh in our minds that it felt like so much more existential to vote blue. This election, I feel like we fucking forgot because we've had Biden in office. Things have just kind of remained the same. They haven't been getting worse. I don't think Biden really made that many things better, but things didn't get necessarily worse. So I think a lot of people got comfortable. I think next election, there will be such, fingers fucking crossed, that's not too bad, but I think whatever the fuck happens will be so fresh in our minds that we, like, actually will not make the same mistake again and will come out in droves. Which is what I hope. Now, all the, like, analytical shit out of the way. Check-in, mental health check-in. This might sound crazy because he is now going to be the president of the United States, but there's a lot in our life that won't be affected by this, and I think that's what we need to hold on to the most. Unfortunately, some of it might be our literal beings, our literal identities will be, like, directly affected by this in some ways. But hold out hope, because it's not like the worst thing that could happen is, like, we all just, like, give up. That, like, it, or just assume that it will be like this forever. It won't. There will be times in the future where things go back to normal, I hope. And, you know, times might get scary. It might get scary these next 4 years. It probably will get scary for a lot of people, but just know it's not going to be like this forever. And I don't got much more to say on that. It's bleak. It's a little bleak right now, but that's just right now. On a side note, please don't crucify me for predicting this shit. I didn't. Okay, I'm starting to fucking believe that when you, like, will shit into existence, it happens. But no, because why would little old me decide the election? Why would me saying Trump is gonna win make the fucking election happen? Also, editorial note: whenever I say that I'm predicting something, I'm not endorsing that. I'm not saying I want that to happen. I'm just saying I think that's gonna happen. Like, when I'm like, Morgan Freeman's gonna die, that doesn't mean I'm gonna fucking Glock Morgan Freeman with a fucking gun. Do I look rough? Do I look like I just watched the election until 2 a.m. and then woke up at 7 a.m. and checked my phone and screamed into my pillow? Am I giving that vibe right now? Reading drama, I had to go to the last episode, and it's like, I judged the Timothy Chalamet contest, and I'm like, wow. Things were looking up. And now this episode's like, Trump is president. This week's drama comes from at Cookie Monster I6U. If you want me to read your drama on a future episode of the Drama Mom podcast, comment it down below on the video version of this podcast. They said, me and my older brother, 2 years, brother's best friend, have been hooking up and want to actually date. Is this a good idea or will it be weird? Okay. I would definitely make it be known that y'all are kind of a thing first to your brother before y'all just start dating, because that would be a shock that might kill him if all of a sudden y'all are just dating and he doesn't even know. I'm like kind of impressed. How the fuck do you do that? How do you like, does your friend come over to hang out with your friend, your brother, and then just like not hang out with your brother and go like straight to your bed? Anyways, props to you. Okay, sorry, let me cut the like talking about drama. Okay, last thing I'll say, I just need to like get it out and like speak from the heart. I really think it will be okay. We survived Trump being president from 2016 and 2020. And we'll fucking survive this. Like, we really will. We still have, and also there's, the scariness of knowing that like half of the country voted for him this time. Like, he did win the popular vote this time. And there's so many people we walk among us. Fuck. I was trying to find a way to not say among us. We, depending on where you live, you might be completely surrounded by people that voted for things that might be literal existential threats to you as a person. You might have family members. You might be friends with people who have voted for things that, like, a regime that could literally take you out of the country, that could take away your rights, your bodily autonomy. And it's a horrifying thought. It is a horrifying thought. And I don't know how to, like, reckon with that in my personal life, too, a lot. And, like, seeing these people and knowing what they supported, I'm going to try and give them grace and the benefit of the doubt. Because, like, the fight's over. But you don't have to. You don't have to even be, like, cordial. I've talked about this in the past, that, like, I try my best to just, like, get along with everyone. And, like regardless of political views. And, like, fully understanding that that's not the case for most people, especially if you are a minority, a woman, an immigrant, anything on the fucking list of things that Trump is, like, actively hating. So just do and interact with these people at whatever level you're comfortable with. It is a scary reality that this is what half of the country wanted, theoretically. But it's the reality that we have to accept. Ugh. But it'll be okay. It'll be okay. And we'll get this shit. This is like when you have fucking Taco Bell and it's like actually creating like a rock in your stomach and you know it's going to pass. You know it's going to fucking pass, but you just have to take your fucking laxatives and you have to shit it out, and then you'll be able to wake up the next morning but the next morning is unfortunately 2028. I'm going to shut the fuck up now because I keep trying to end this on a light note and then it gets darker. We're going to be okay. 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 Love y'all. Bye. Fuck.